Sup shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to our SP Reviews where today we're going to be checking out a track by an artist named Forrest E. Bayer titled Rudely Interrupted on Diego Street. And if we switch over to here, we got it on YouTube. Rudely Interrupted on Diego Street. Yeah, provided to YouTube by CD Baby. That's all good. Gonna listen to this track from start to finish and we're gonna hear what we think. Oh, it's right in. I'm liking the color and the intensity of the sort of like that grit, that distortion in those guitars. The bass is very full sounding. Wondering how loud my headphones are. No, it's okay. Like it's very loud in the headphones, and I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way. You can tell that there's been a brick wall involved with this, but that's okay. You know, I've got a couple of questions about the production of this track. The first one is I'm wondering if the drum kit is sidechaining the guitars. I have another question about the vocals. I'm not sure if they're as loud as they need to be in the mix. I think part of it is I think that they are technically loud enough. Like I'm assuming this has been listened to in the mono, like when they were mixing. Just, it seems like the guitar is in that same sort of part of the stereo field as the vocals. And because guitars and vocals operate within similar frequency spectrums, I'm just wondering if that's kind of affecting my ability to sort of hear the vocals as clearly as might have been intended, but... Oh, we're going for something real kind of experimental with these, I'm liking the creativity on display here. Like, I like how completely sort of shifted vibes into these kind of distorted synthetic kind of keys. Have we got 2 or 3 different synths involved now? We've got like a pad in there. There's almost like a vaporwave-ish kind of quality to the way the vocals are sounding in the mix. I'm wondering how the vocals were recorded and produced and what was on the mastering chain or aux chain for that. There's a lot of energy, it's quite... It's like full of energy and I adore that. And it does kind of like, I can imagine would somewhat feel like being rudely interrupted. There's sort of a chaotic nature to it, isn't there? Because some of those like 90s kind of really kind of square sounding boom kind of those kind of, it reminds me of like PlayStation 1 games, some of the sort of MIDI instruments they used in those ones. And that's not a criticism, I really dig those synths. It's interesting that we're combining it here. I think the quality, like the way the drum sounds, the tone works well with those bass synths. See, I think the guitars were just a bit too much for the vocals to really like sort of cope with in the stereo field and in the frequencies. Like here, I could hear the vocals a little bit more clearly. Was he saying something like she really likes it or something like that? Oh yeah, Diego Street, right? And it's a shame because I know that like we've put so much effort into like double tracking the vocals and stuff like that. I can appreciate the work we put into this. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about with like different frequencies and different spectrums. You have like the rules of fourth harmonies. We have something in the low lows, something in the mid lows, something in mid highs, and something in the high. And you stack them like that, and they can be near each other, and that you can hear each of them clearly. Because like the vocals aren't in the range of that bass, even if the bass is quite loud, you can still hear the vocal as well. Conversely, it's why sometimes mixes can sound kind of empty because there is not enough in between like the super duper lows and the mid highs where the vocals sit. And it just feels empty because there's nothing in those remaining two gaps to really kind of, or especially the low mids, to kind of add bulk to it in a way that's meaningful. But we don't have that here. Like, there's a lot of different inputs. It's reasonably well rounded in terms of the way it sounds. We've got like a two-note kind of bass line, like a boom, boom, and a boom. We go up got up a semitone. Boom, boom. Oh no, we've got more than that. Sorry, I apologize. We've got like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't even mind it if it was a two-note like bass line. There's a lot of songs that have really good sort of two-note bass lines. Kind of a wild ride though, isn't it? I think this is deliberately uncomfortable, isn't it? Yeah, okay. That kind of threw me for a loop then. I think I got bitten by a bug or something like that. I got a really itchy arm now. You gotta do the X thing with mosquito bites and stuff to kind of help with that. Yeah, up until that point at the end, I was like, I didn't know whether the vocals were put at that level in the mix by just maybe not knowing enough about how to produce, or whether it was that there was a deliberate stylistic thing. And apparently it was. What was being done at the end with that modulation and that filter work and that pitch shifting and stuff like that is not a simple thing to do. It gives me the indication that everything within this track was deliberate. Definitely one of the most experimental pieces I've listened to in a while. There's a couple of artists I've heard similar stuff from, and this is one of the wilder ones. One of the wilder was. It was cool how, despite the sort of bickering elements in certain sections where like the textures were consistent, like they sounded like they should go together, but there was some sort of melodies that argued with each other, and really sort of it was like an exacerbated sort of intensity to it. But it kind of came across well, like it was an incredibly uncomfortable vibe, and it was like you're being rudely interrupted. So I assume that's what the producer wanted. Forrest E. Bayer, I believe. If I go back to here, yes, Forrest E. Bayer. I want to see where Forrest E. Bayer goes in future. Like, genuinely, it's not often you get a track like this which is so chaotic and so intense that you want to hear more from the artist. It was at times merciless, but I think that's part of being creative, is that you don't have to create stuff that people will find pleasant to listen to. You have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want. It'll be interesting to see where Foresty Bear goes from here. I doubt that this is his first track. It just, the work that went into it did not seem like it was his first rodeo. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially at the end part, I was like, no, 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 this is not the work of someone who's a novice. It sounded twisted and rude and just messed up. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be swearing with a YouTube. It sounded really fucked up, you know? Really messed up at the end. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think I made most of the comments I wanted to throughout the actual review of the track itself during its playtime. In 5 minutes, it's quite a while. I think that it does justify itself with that end bit. I think that if it had been that sort of initial theme for the whole 5 minutes and there hadn't been any shift at the end, I would have just felt like we were stuck in that uncomfortable position for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean? There wouldn't have been any sort of finish to it. But I think when things got really twisted, it was like, yeah, no, this is the way we're going now. This is just how things are going to be, and I can move on now. It was effective. At 5 minutes, I think that it was important for it to be this long. I'm glad that it wasn't any longer, as I don't know whether it would have necessarily benefited it to have been longer. And I think if it had been shorter, we would have missed out on that last part, which would have been a shame. That's effectively my review of Rudely Interrupted on Diego Street by Foresty Bear. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please do go check out Foresty Bayer's YouTube and social medias. Stay cool, stay safe, and remember support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need all the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And just before we finish, I know I haven't really spoken much about the vocals and sort of the singing within it. Genuinely, I just couldn't hear bits of it. I just couldn't tell what was going on. There might be lyrics here. No, it's just I think City Baby's just, yeah. So I don't know. I think I would have. It's tricky. I think with the lyric sheet, I would have probably gotten a more perspective on it. But I'm grateful that I did kind of hear that hook and that hook came through well, because that's obviously one of the most important parts of a song is the hook. So I'm glad that we had the presence of mind to include that in a section where it wasn't sort of competing with the guitars for attention or like frequency space. Yeah. Stay cool. See you later. And yeah. Spider hands out.